Joining us now to discuss the left's latest crazy climate change gamble is geologist Ian Plimer. Professor Plimer, great to see you as always. Now, I want you to explain to me, you are a geologist par excellence. I want you to explain to me what could possibly go wrong with pumping carbon dioxide into the greatest artesian basin, the great artesian basin, the greatest aquifer in Australia. Anything that could possibly go wrong, and why is this madness even being contemplated, Ian Plimer?
Well, there's a company, Glencore, that wants to liquefy carbon dioxide from a power station near Toowoomba and drive it a couple of 100 kilometres and put it underground as liquid carbon dioxide. Now, this has the full support of Tanya Plibersek. And of course, nothing could go wrong. We've only got to go back to the 21st of August 1986 in Lake Nyos in Cameroon, where carbon dioxide exploded out of a crater on a still night. It filled up the valleys. It's a gas that's heavier than air. It filled up the valleys and 1,746 people were asphyxiated. 3,500 cattle were asphyxiated and countless wildlife died. Nothing could go wrong. We already know that liquid carbon dioxide, when it's under pressure, explodes like a bomb. Now, we geologists spend a lot of our time looking for areas where carbon dioxide has naturally exploded, because this is where you find gold deposits. This is where you find copper gold deposits. Now, if your memory doesn't go back to 1986, why not go back to February 2020? And there was a carbon dioxide pipeline in Mississippi, only a small pipeline. It burst and a whole village was inundated with carbon dioxide and 40 people were taken off to hospital. Of course, it's a good idea to cover the country with wind turbines, to cover the country with solar panels, and to put carbon dioxide into the great artesian basin, into the aquifer, which is the biggest freshwater aquifer in the world. It covers 65% of Queensland. It's a great idea. We're going to save the planet by destroying it.
Ian, you were, I gather, I assume that all the boffins in Canberra were well aware of Lake Nyos and are well aware of the dangers of pumping carbon dioxide into our most precious water aquifer. So I want to tip my hat to you, because I believe you were the person who actually identified this, where none of the bureaucrats actually bothered to. But answer me this. I get very confused, Ian, because I would have thought, what happens to this nature-positive idea that we shouldn't be messing with nature? What happens if we start injecting carbon dioxide into the Great Artesian Basin? Will the rainbow serpent become the fizzy rainbow serpent? What's going to happen there? And why isn't Tanya Plibersek jumping in saying this shouldn't be allowed?
Well, I did an extensive search of the scientific literature, all of the government reports, and read the Glencore report. No one had dawned on the fact that we can have a massive phreatic explosion of carbon dioxide where you hold it under pressure at depth and it will explode. Now, of course, you'll have this massive fizzy drink, but it then poses a few other questions. What is Tanya Plibersek's department doing? Why do we have so many bureaucrats not looking at the bleeding obvious? Most of them were alive when this happened. Most of them have got a memory. Maybe some have got a memory of a goldfish, but most of them have got a memory. We should have known this, and we should know that if you displace air with carbon dioxide, it's not that carbon dioxide is poisonous. It's just that there's no air to breathe. So it takes no one very special to point out the bleeding obvious to those people in Canberra who should have worked this out.
Rita.
I'm just interested in your take, Professor, on Chris Bowen's latest pronouncement on X about nuclear energy and how expensive it is and how we need to focus on renewable sources of energy if we want to bring down costs. Would you care to fact-check that for us right here, right now, without notice?
The facts, Rita, are that 19 of the 20 G20 countries have nuclear power. It's 24/7, 365. It's backup for unreliable wind and solar. And what's more, when we put in solar and when we put in wind, we destroy farmland. We destroy perfectly good farmland for unreliable power. And the fingerprint that we have for a nuclear power station or a coal-fired power station is very, very small. But we now have this other wonderful scheme to inject liquid carbon dioxide into the aquifer of the Great Artesian Basin. Again, we're attacking farmers. And why does this country insist on attacking farmers, pushing them to suicide, sending them bankrupt, wrapping them in red tape and green tape and black tape and now blue tape from the UN? What is wrong with Chris Bowen? What is wrong with people in cities, especially those on the left, where they want to destroy those people who produce food?
James.
Ian, 2 quick questions. If we inject carbon dioxide into the earth, they have to monitor this not just for a couple of years, this is for hundreds of years they have to monitor. Is that right? And who's responsible for that? And second, if there's an explosion, who's responsible for that? Is it the company? Is it the government? Who takes the responsibility?
Well, James, you hit it on the head. No one takes responsibility. Just look at all of those running for cover with COVID inquiries. And that was only a couple of years ago. No one takes responsibility. And to monitor this, you are quite correct, takes hundreds of years. But we also know from very simple chemistry that if we make carbonic acid, then that carbonic acid in the aquifer will dissolve arsenic, cadmium and lead, and that will come into the irrigation water, the drinking water and the stock water. So we already know this. We shouldn't even attempt to do this. And if we're really worried about carbon dioxide, then let it go into the atmosphere. It's plant food, and let us feed plants. I'm now of the girth where I can't hug trees, but I do like to feed plants their food, which is carbon dioxide.